Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're doing a weekly metagame breakdown for the historic best of 3 format. We'll look to see how some of the new cards are flowing in. Preface, there's not a huge amount of data, the ladder just reset, so we're kind of getting that weird bridge where some folks that were previously Mythic are back to Platinum, so hopefully by next week we get a larger sample. You can see from like the main page, the popularity of decks isn't really showing beyond the Jund mid-range deck, but we'll take a look, see what we have, pull together about a dozen or so decks for folks to take advantage of. All the deck lists will be in the video description, so you can copy paste. If you want to use Untap, the link is in the video description, same there. And I just wanted to kind of bring back, so something for those new on the channel I've been doing for the last couple of years is every December, basically any funds that I make from YouTube revenue, I'm doing a donation. So I will donate all the funds that I make from YouTube this month to a local food bank in my city. Just to help with the holidays, give back to the local community. So if you do want to just run any of my videos in the background, just the more views I can get, the more I would generate in revenue, the more I can donate. So I'll get a tracker up for the next video, and then we'll do kind of week or video by video to see how we're trending. We're at $26 so far for December after 2 days. So pretty reasonable start. The last few years we've been doing like $500 to $600 donation, which is nice. So let's jump into it. We are looking, and 4,400 games played from Diamond and Mythic rank over the last week, so not a huge amount. Normally, like Simic, we'll take a look at it in a sec, but there's this list here from Tax Refund. Their Arena Qualifier deck looks like it is, but they went 28-2 up to Mythic 1 in the last day or so, and this is a kind of sneak and show version in the historic format. So we don't have Sneak Attack, but we have Caveron Consumed. It's an alchemy card. It's 5 mana. You can put an artifact or creature from your hand onto the battlefield. Perpetually becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/4 and gains haste. You sacrifice at the beginning of the end step. So what you're trying to do is put into play like Emrakul the Promised End is the big one. Comes in as a 4/4, but you basically haste out with Annihilator 6 and you blow up a bunch of their stuff, which is quite strong. Ulamog the Defiler, if you have something in exile, it enters with the #1 on counters. It's another way to have Annihilator. This can get pretty large. If you would put, say, for example, an Emrakul or an Ulamog under, this one's not, or Ugin's Labyrinth. I'm like, it should be playing this land. The rest of the deck is just some ramp. You have Talisman in here, Consign. You can also prevent the sacrifice trigger from going off. Null Drifter on the top end. Similar, you can consign the trigger. In that case, Devour, just so big Eldrazi on the top end. Ill-Time Explosion as a sweeper. Stock Up helps you find the combo. God's Command and a couple of talismans to help you ramp up as well. Mysterized Village helps you make your Caveron uncounterable. Torpor Orbs, good against any of the Luris Piles, Val combo, stuff like that. Test the Talents for kind of like the control matchups, or just anything with counter spells. You have Mazebane Lizard for the Lotus Fields combo, anything with lots of spells. You have Lazotep Reaping or Plating as a protection effect when you kind of combo off. Surgical for Graveyard combo hate. Pithing Needle for activated abilities. Grafdigger's Cage, anything cheating into play. And then Chalice of the Void for the low to the ground decks. Moving on, we have Simic Eldrazi. So this one's an interesting take. Small sample size, but it's slightly deviating from the stock list. This one's on Portent of Calamity, so you can pay blue and X. You reveal the top X cards of your library. For each card type, you may exile a card of that card type, put the rest into your graveyard. You may cast a spell from among the exiled cards without paying its mana cost if you exile 4 or more, and then you put the rest into your hand. So it's a way to kind of cheat out some of the big stuff. This one also has Wary Zone Guard, so it doesn't see much play normally in Historic. This is one of the staples in Timeless with Strip Mine that you keep recurring. So we do see the Ghost Quarter. So between Ghost Quarter, you have World Breaker. You can blow up some lands out of your opponent. You can get Ghost Quarter back every turn. You're milling over, so lands going into the graveyard. If your opponent blows up lands, it's another way to kind of recur that value. Otherwise, pretty stock Simic Eldrazi list. Dismember is removal. Remember, this got downshifted to uncommon, so you can craft it for cheaper, not mythic anymore. Torpor Orb, like we mentioned, activated activated abilities. You have Flute or kind of a tax effect. Surgical as a way to deal with combo graveyard hate. Consigned to memory for the Eldrazi mirrors. and then Consign or Chalice for the Luris piles, low to the ground stuff. Boros Auras, 86%. Again, some of these are small sample size. It could be like one player playing some of them. There's just not a huge amount of data this time. This is a pretty stock list. You're using basically Light Pause and Core Spirit Dancer. Both care about auras being cast. Light Pause lets you toolbox and tutor for auras. Core Spirit Dancer draws you cards. And then the rest of the deck is just kind of situational auras. The strong play is plotting the Demonic Ruckus on 1, then you go Light Pause on 2, you cast the Ruckus for free, and then you search up all that, or not all that glitters, Sheltered by Ghosts. So you get kind of ward, you eat away at their like 1-drop potentially, or their early play, and then you get some built-in evasion to kind of go off with. The lifelink is also, or built-in protection, sorry. It's been a long day at work, trying to get this out after work. Then we have the sideboard here. We have Surgical Extraction, for, like we mentioned, Pithing Needle, Path to Exile. This can also be Fragment Reality as an option. Oh, they're playing Fragment as well, so just more removal here. Lauren Escape for heavy targeted removal that's not exile-based. And then Orin's Chant, just kind of a way to protect you from when you go off, or if your opponent's trying to alpha strike you, can buy you potentially a turn and creature mirrors. Temur Lotus Field, so this is basically Izzet Splash Crop Rotation. So Crop Rotation lets you tutor up your Lotus Field. A lot of this deck is revolving around finding your Lotus Fields to kind of go off. With Lotus Field trigger on the stack, you can stifle or consign to memory it. That way you don't have to sacrifice it. You also have Deserted Temple, which can tap untap the Lotus Field. Kind of pays for it, so you generate more mana. Hidden Strings, as well as Pour Over the Pages, both allow you to get extra value in terms of tapping. With Artist Talent out, basically every card you cast lets you loot at that point. You fill your graveyard, you Underworld Breach, generate a huge amount of mana with the Pour Over Pages and Hidden Strings, and then you wish or Fae of Wishes to your sideboard for your win condition, which is typically Tendrils of Agony or Grape Shot your opponent. You can also Jace Wielder of Mysteries if you draw out your library. When you're trying to combo off, you can also just, if you don't have enough in your graveyard, you can wish for the Tome Scour, mill yourself 5 cards, which self-enables you to kind of mill through your library, and then win with the Jace that way there. Bojuka Bog's a land you could bring in if you're playing against a graveyard deck that can be tutorable with Crop Rotation. Temporary Lockdown, Divine Purge for the like Luris piles, low to the ground stuff. Silence and Orin's Chant protects you for your combo turn against counter spells or interaction. Fragment deals with a lot of the common hate pieces. Naya Val, 67 or 76%. Lots of ways to build this deck. This one here is opting for the Birthing Ritual plan, so sack a creature and then go find a creature. This one's playing more in on the energy. You'll sometimes see Goblin Bombardment plan with a Johnny. This one's playing Ocelote's Pride. I would probably say just play Goblin Bombardment. It's better than Ocelote's Pride, I think, in this deck. Just giving you another kind of avenue with the Ajani to kind of combo off. You can probably true up some of these numbers, like one of White Orchard. You can't even tutor with Green Sun, so I just play the extra Ajani in there. You can also play your 4th piece of each of the combo pieces. But how it works, Trilisara, Val, in any way that either gains you a life or scry or seek, anything like that, will help you kind of find your next combo piece. Or it helps you create an infinite loop where you gain a life, you put a counter on Trilisara, you scry, triggers Val, which gains you a life, and then you basically drain your opponent out. Gaining life from Guide of Souls, Soul Warden, so this one's a little bit of a odder version. You usually have like the red creatures that seek, but seems to be doing fairly reasonable, just going more on the life gain kind of energy pile with the backdoor to win through the combo. White Orchard is in here for the Eldrazi matchups, blow up their lands, greedy mana bases. Even against Jund, it's okay. They play some number of basics because they play Prismatic Vista, but still can blow up some of their lands, cut them off colors potentially. Rest in Peace for graveyard decks. Invasion is hand hate, kind of think of it as Thoughtseize in white. Fragment is cheap removal. Authority, anything. Authority is an interesting one. I guess in the mirror, it breaks the mirror because they can't actually beat you. The loop goes in and it would just end in a draw. Haywire Might, Artifact Enchantment Hate, and then Raise Pass is an interesting one. A lot of these decks, like the Jund decks, stuff like that, will play the 4-mana sweeper that blows up everything, like 2 CMC or less. So this brings it all back. So heavy targeted removal that's not exile, you can kind of combo off through your graveyard. Boros Energy, so this is kind of more stock energy. We see White Orchard Phantom in the main, Goblin Bombardment, a Johnny Pile, very strong kind of iteration. Some of these will play Voice of Victory. We've seen anywhere like sometimes 3/3 split with Oslo's Pride, Voice of Victory. Fragment is removal, Static Prison, Galvanic Discharge. Really just kind of really good Modern Horizon cards all jammed together for value. Sunbaked Canyon got a reprint. Sunbaked Canyon got a reprint in the Avatar set. Didn't know. White Orchard again for the Eldrazi matchups, Thraben Charm, removal, enchantment hate, and deals with graveyards. The invasion, as well as Thought Partition is kind of Thoughtseize style effect, surgical graveyard combo hate, Stone of Erich. Any deck that's kind of sacking stuff like energy mirrors, think of Johnny decks, stuff that wants things to have death triggers. This gets around it. Seam Rep for low to the ground stuff, Pithy Needle for activate abilities. And then Wrath of the Skies is an interesting one here because you don't normally want to play a Wrath in your creature pile since it hits all your key stuff. But if your opponent has Chalice of the Void, this can get around it because if they cast for Chalice for 1 and Chalice for 2, this gives you an option to have a sweeper. You just overpay and then you can cast it and destroy the chalices. Selesnya Devotion at 72%. So this is mono green Devotion with the Elesh Norn in the main. The card here we're seeing is Badgermole. Basically turns any of your mana dorks to tap for an additional green mana. And then it has Earthbend, which animates a land in play. So it lets you tap the land as well. We have Noble Eye Hierarch that can also fix some of your mana. Can give Exalted as well. So your meat and potatoes Devotion deck. Find your Nykthos, tap on tap stuff, generate a whole bunch of mana, storm the festival, and eventually find your Karn, which can serve for your win condition. It's a Karn board, so your sideboard is 15 unique cards. Portal Phyrexia goes over the top, sacrifices 3 things, and lets you reanimate. Good against like Auras decks, stuff that's not going super wide. It can be reasonable even against like Jund. They don't put out too many threats. Cityscape Leveler. I think this is the stupidest card art I've ever seen. It looks like one of those like worm fireworks or like a cigarette butt. I don't know. I very much dislike. This is so lazy, this artwork that they chose and like the cropping. Blow up stuff. Akroma's Memorial. If you can generate enough of a board state for the turn and have enough mana, you can Akroma's Memorial and haste out your team. Mindslaver lets take over your opponent's turn. It goes into exile, but Karn can pick it up from exile as well. God Pharaoh's Statue is good against low casting cards, low CMC casting cards. So even against like Lotus, it taxes them enough that they might not be able to combo out. Sky Sovereign can blow up stuff. You can plus Karn on this and then get the attack trigger. Metamorph copy stuff. 1 ring for card advantage. Pearly Snares removal. Liquid Metal Coating with Karn can blow up lands. Shut off lands, stuff like that. Portable Holes, cheap removal. Pithing Needle activated ability. Felden's Cane, I guess if you're going to mill yourself out in long games. Haywire Might, Artifact Enchantment Hate. And Tormund's Crypt for Graveyard Hate. Jund Goyfs, 70%. So this deck here is playing a bunch of powerful cards. This one's opting for Tarmogoyf. Usually you don't see the Tarmogoyf. You see more copies of like Detective Phoenix. You can see Crucius in here. This one's playing Snuff Out. So with Snuff Out, you can cast it for 4 life rather than its CMC if you control a swamp. So a bunch of like duels that are swamp based. Prismatic Vesta can also find you your swamp. This one's on Arena Glory to haste out your Pyrogoyfs or Barrogoyfs. These are kind of your big hitters. Pyrogoyf just redirects damage. Barrogoyf, if you use Barrogoyf with the Pyrogoyf out, Barrogoyf is the one dealing damage. So even if the creature is bigger, it has Death Touch, so it kills the creature that way. There, gains you life. Rumble helps you kind of mill in. Some of these lists are playing Witherbloom Command as a way to fill your graveyard, as well as being some disruptive elements. Thoughtseize, Kozilek for Hand Hate, Fatal Push, and Ignoble as so Fatal Push is removal, Hierarch as some ramp. Realistically, if I were to say, I would trim the Tarmogoyfs, play 1 Witherbloom, and then 2 Fatal Push to kind of true up that. Grist could be a second Detective Phoenix as well. Minsc and Boo for the Grindier, slower matchups, Culling Ritual for anything going wide, the Energy Piles, Luris Piles, stuff like that. Go Blank as Hand Hate with Exile of the Graveyard, Magebane Lizard for Lotus, Croxa for the Mirror, Cleansing Wildfire. There's the new lesson that is in Avatar that's basically similar text to this, but it blows up either an artifact or a land. Still draws you a card, still 2 CMC. I would play that over this. I think it's like Price of Freedom, I think is the card name. Corrupt Decay, just effective removal gets around like the ward from the Auras deck, for example. Surgical for graveyard and combo hate. Fatal Push for cheap removal. Haywire Might, Artifact Enchantment hate. Temur Battlecrier combo. So this deck here, we've had Battlecrier in standard, but Battlecrier reduces the cost of your spells by 1 for each card with CMC 4 or greater in play. So it can make potentially your Karns cheaper to free. Metamorph could be free, copying Battlecrier. You have Memory Jar afterwards that kind of lets you potentially cast it for free. You get to basically draw 7 and kind of storm off. Outcaster Trailblazer draws you cards. Kiora draws you cards. Fanatic of Ronus can ramp you. You have Molten Duplication that can become a copy of target creature and get haste. So it's another way to kind of go off, have it become copies of like your Battlecrier, of your Cactus. This is another way to give haste as an effect. And then just some ramp, and then the Green Sun Zenith helps you find your Battlecrier that lets you pop off. Memory Jar lets you draw cards in the Grandier matchups. They also can be found with Karn. Oh, this is a Karn board for the most part. Metamorph, like I mentioned. Ancestral Statue, basically, if you, with Karn, you can find Ancestral Statue. It enters the battlefield, you return a non-land permanent to your hand. So if you can get it to cost 0 mana with 4 things out, you could just keep bouncing Ancestral Statue back to your hand over and over and over again. With Karn, then afterwards, once you build up enough Storm, you can bounce the Karn to hand, and then you get Aetherflux Reservoir, and then you cast one more spell, and then you basically go off, and then you just 50 them. Surik, anything with a lot of targeted removal. Coding blows up lands. Flute, activated abilities. Stern Scolding is cheap creature counters like Lurrus Pile, Soul Guide for Graveyard Hate, Flood Maws, Catch All Bounce, Consign for the Eldrazi matchups, Haywire Might, Artifact Enchantment hates. So this one here, I went back 2 weeks. It's Dimir Ninjas, 60%. We're seeing Snuff out here. We're seeing Kaido here. We have Yuriko, which normally in Commander has Commander Ninjutsu, but whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you reveal the top card of your library, put in your hand, each opponent loses life equal to its CMC. So you can use things like Sink in the Super, which is a land, Agadeems, which is a land that can ping them. So it's not going like crazy with like Treasure Cruise or stuff like that, but just card advantage that deals some additional reach damage. And then it's got Ninjutsu too. You have Thousand Face Ninja. If you get Thousand Face with enough Silver Fur to reduce its CMC, any blue mana you have, you can just keep bouncing Silver Furs. Or if you have 2 Thousand Face Shadows, you can keep bouncing them back to your hand, ninjutsuing off each other and making copies of Silver Fur to like scale in terms of antheming your squad. You have the Foundry Ornithopter combo to make 4/4s. It also works with Chainlink Outcast, which is both a ninja and a thopter. And then this one's playing Hydroponics Architect. Sees a lot of play in Timeless with fetch lands, but whenever it attacks, a random land in your library perpetually becomes an island. And then when it enters, you draw a card, which means that your Prismatic Vista can fetch non-basics in the deck. Meat Hook for the go wide energy piles, Thoughtseize for hand hates, Surgical Graveyard combo, cheap counters and Spell Snare and Scolding, and then Consign for the Eldrazi matchups. The last thing, we weren't getting really any Valakut data on Untapped. So I found 2 lists. This one is from Ulf, 63 and 18 with this version. So how it works is built around the card Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. Unfortunately on Arena, this is a Mythic because it was special guest. It was part of Avatar. So when you have 7 or more mountains, or sorry, if you control 5 or more mountains, Valakut deals, whenever another mountain comes into play, Valakut deals 3 damage to any target. So you're doing it in Escape Shift file, so all the lands at sea come into play at the same time, so then you could just like one-shot your opponent ideally. With Dryad of the Elysian Grove, all your lands are all basic land types, so even your Valakuts, for example, become mountains. Your Prismatic Vistas become mountains, so you get multiple triggers there. You have Ice Still Explorer that will allow you to rebuy lands from your graveyard, so things like the Vista can help you ramp, helps you mill into the combo. One Ring to refill your hand, Flame Slash is cheap removal, Malevolent Rumble fills your yard for like the Ice Still, helps you find your key lands. Winding Way is another way to put lands into your hand. This one's got Song of Seasons, an alchemy card, 3 mana, seek a mountain, a forest, and a non-mountain and non-forest land. Put put one of them into the battlefield, the rest into your graveyard. So another way to kind of get back some stuff. Exploration lets you play multiple lands per turn. So you kind of load up and then you scape shift into the combo. Boseiju deals with artifacts and enchantments. It's a land that can be tutored, rebought, and then also blow up stuff. Tangle's a really cool one. I was struggling against some of the aggressive decks trying this out earlier. This one, 2 mana, it's a fog, but each attacking creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So it's like a double fog almost in a way. Fire Magic for go wide piles, Alpine Moon for the mirror or like Eldrazi matchups, and then Haywire Might for artifact enchantment hate. So there's that version there. Then there's this one from Altheriax. They went 18-4 in Mythic. A little bit more creature dense, this one here. So you have Green Sun Zenith, playing Kami of Bamboo Groves to help you ramp, Satyr Wayfinder, mills you. Only 1 Dryad that can be fetched, Ice Till Explorer, and this one's playing 4 Ox of Agonis. Just more ways to kind of refill your hand. Primeval Titan can help you find stuff. One Ring the same way. And then Mulch as a way to fill your fill your hand with lands. And then put in the graveyard, same with Winding Way. Then you have Burgeoning and Exploration. So if an opponent plays a land, you get to put a land into play. Then Exploration lets you put more than 1 land into play. The mana base here is slightly different. You have Multiversal Passage, Zia Torres, Prismatic, Valakut, Stomping Ground, and then 1/4. So not like huge amounts of basics in this one. Alpine Moon, like we mentioned. Sidious Fungus, Artifact Enchantment hate that can be tutored with the Green Sun. Scavenging uses Graveyard hate. Grist can be tutored with Green Sun Zenith, just a grindier card that's nice, fills your graveyard. Leovold against decks that are drawing a lot of cards. You can't really cast it unless you have Dryad out, but it is a card that you can Green Sun Zenith for. Culling Ritual for all the go wide decks. Swamp can be brought in when you're bringing in the Culling Ritual, so you can find the swamp to cast it. Blast Zone just blows up low to the ground stuff. Boseiju, like we mentioned. That's it for the week. Let me know what you've been playing, what you've been liking, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.